Perashat Tese contains more mitzvot than any other parasha in the Torah. 74 to be exact, more than 10% of the 613 total. That's a lot of mitzvot to pack into one parasha. And many of them are absolutely revolutionary in the world of human morality. We know this from the very famous examples that we can compare to the even older Hammurabi Code. So, for example, everybody knows the Hammurabi Code says if a slave runs away, you have to return him to his master. The Torah says the opposite. Lo taskir el eved el adonav. If a slave runs away, you may not return him to his master. That's certainly a great revolution. Another famous example, if a builder builds a house and does a bad job and it falls down on the owner's son, then the builder's son gets capital punishment. The Torah says the opposite. Lo yimetu avot abanim ubanim lo yimetu al avot. That you never punish a child for the sins of a father. Those are the great big examples, but there's yet another example in this parasha that's a lot more subtle. The Hammurabi Code says, if bankers use a light scale to measure the grain or the silver that they lend, and a heavy scale to measure the grain or silver that they collect, then they shall forfeit their investment. Right? You have to use correct weights and measures. Torah has something very similar. Says, Lo bechisecha eben va'aven gedola uktana. One should not have in his pocket weights and measures that are heavier than the indication. It says an ounce, but it's a little heavier, or it says an ounce and it's a little lighter, that you can use to cheat someone if you're buying or selling. Sounds almost exactly the same, except for one subtle but important difference. Whereas the Hammurabi Code says don't use these measures, the Torah says don't even have them in your pocket. Don't even have them anywhere in your house at all. Why would you have them unless you have in the back of your mind, maybe I'll use them? And so the Torah here is telling us that it's not only important not to actually steal and cheat, everybody knows that, but to set up the systems around us to make sure that we can never come to it. And so that even if we might be tempted to, we might be a moment of pressure, that we will remove any possibility of it. Reminds me of the famous sign, that one of my favorite signs. It says, "Don't even think of parking here." It's my favorite sign because whenever I see it, that's all I can think about, that I want to park there. So Torah is coming and saying, don't even think of cheating others. Don't even think of being dishonest in business. And in that way, it actually becomes a lot easier to be honest. If a person is thinking all the time, should I be honest today? Should I do honest? Should I cheat someone in this transaction? Even if they're always making the right decision, it's still a struggle. But if someone removes any possibility of cheating from their entire business and from their entire system, then the path of honesty becomes easy. And ultimately, that's what the Torah wants. Once you put that system in place and you don't even think about it, then it's easy to be always honest. And so with that in mind, I think we can appreciate the multiplicity of laws in the Torah. As Rabbi Chanan ben Akashya says, Asa Kadosh Baruch Hu lezakot et Yisrael lefichach hirba lehem Torah u'misvot. God wanted to give us merit and therefore gave us many laws. The many laws here are not meant to make our lives difficult, but rather to keep us on the straight and narrow, and show us how to have a path of an easy and straightforward life, always being honest with others and always being honest with ourselves. So we can be very thankful to read Perashat Tese, and especially thankful for the abundance of mitzvot that we can read and fulfill in this parasha. Shabbat Shalom.